So here we are, the final video of 2023, and I've got something kind of special that I've been saving. Sweet spicy spindler. It is the obnoxiously heavy, obscenely powerful, and nearly unobtainable Daystar Genesis MP, the 1995 Macintosh clone with quad PowerPC processors. And today we're going to take a look at this thing, power it up, and maybe even install a weird operating system on it, like BeOS. So stay tuned. And if you enjoy seeing the bleeding edge technology from yesteryear tortured for your entertainment, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel. In 1995, you could buy a brand new Saturn SL1, the greatest car ever made, for $12,000. And if you were smart, you could double its value by putting one of these in it, a Daystar Genesis MP600. I don't think that's how money works. Released in October 1995 for $12,000, this absolute behemoth of a computer packs 4 PowerPC 604 CPUs running at 133 MHz each. It was the most powerful contender in the Macintosh clones market. Yeah, there was a brief time in the 90s where Apple let other companies make Mac-compatible computers. And even when you get past the fact that this thing has 4 processors, its specs are ridiculous for the time. It has 12 DIMM slots that can take up to 1.5 gigs of RAM. It could fit 7 SCSI hard drives in there, and it had 6 PCI slots. Now, I got this machine from my friend and fellow YouTuber Colin from This Does Not Compute, and he did a bunch of great videos on it, like the history and overview, watching it die suddenly and painfully, and then resurrecting it. So I'll link those videos down in the description. But today we're going to focus on using this monster, dual booting macOS and BeOS. And I just so happen to have this completely legitimate BeOS for PowerPC install CD, version 5.0.3, the final version. Right after this quick word about today's sponsor, FlexiSpot. Do you know what I really enjoy? Sitting down. And as a sitting down enthusiast, I can heartily recommend the FlexiSpot C7 Ergonomic office chair. I spend a lot of time sitting and editing these videos, and I actually replaced my old IKEA chair several months ago with a FlexiSpot C7, and it has made a world of difference. That IKEA chair was barely adjustable, and the seat was a little too small. The FlexiSpot C7, on the other hand, is extremely adjustable, with adjustable headrest, 4D adjustable armrest, seat depth, height, tilt adjustments, plus 90 to 128 degree recline. I have mine perfectly dialed in now with the self-adaptive back support and biomimetic support system, making this easily the most comfortable chair I've ever used. And the 20-inch seat means that I can sit cross-legged. There's a 10-year warranty and 30 days free return, so feel free to give it a try. And it supports up to 300 pounds. FlexiSpot also has less expensive options like the C6 and C3. Now is a great time to purchase a FlexiSpot C7 ergonomic chair. Use the code C730 to get 30% off for the new year. Again, code C730 for 30% off. Now for storage, I'd like to use a blue SCSI version 2, which the eagle-eyed among you might notice is in several pieces, but that's nothing we can't solve with a bit of soldering. And I have this nice 3D printed bracket to give me some mounting points, and of course completely mismatched screws, as is tradition. And then just these 2 brackets on the side will hold it in place in the machine. And then one of the other cool things about blue SCSI is you don't actually need to power it. It gets all the power it needs from the SCSI bus. All right, first power on of this behemoth. Well, it still chimes. And first thing we'll do is try to restore this to its factory settings. Luckily, Macintosh Garden does have the original Daystar Genesis MP restore disk, because this machine does need some special software from Daystar to make use of the multiple processors in macOS. Now, I've made up an SD card with two blank 2 GB disk images on here, one for macOS, and then the other one will be for BeOS. So we'll initialize those real quick. Yeah, there we go, BeOS. We have install me first and install me second. So the first one is the system, and the second one looks like the Daystar specific software. So I'll let these run, and I'll jump cut to this being complete or this failing. Alright, well, for some reason with the Blue SCSI V2, the install kept freezing pretty early on, but I put a Blue SCSI 1.1 in here and everything installed just fine. So we have a fresh install of macOS 7.5.3. And before we try and install BeOS, let's take a quick poke around here because, yeah, there's some interesting Daystar stuff that's installed. Ha, yeah, this is the N-Power control panel, and we can see our 4 PowerPC 604 CPUs installed. Oh yeah, check it out. Here's some utilization running at 132 megahertz. Because of course macOS by default does not support multiple processors. Daystar performance demo. Oh, look at this. 3D projection. I have no idea what this is gonna do. Whoa, look at that thing. Yeah, use 4 processors enabled. Alright, that's enough horsing around with this stuff. Let's do the thing I'm most excited to do and install BeOS, the final PowerPC version, on the most powerful PowerPC Mac that can run it. Now, to install BeOS is pretty simple, though a little weird. This CD is set up for multiple architectures, so we just go into Macintosh here and BeOS Mac Tools. Then we install the OS Chooser to Extensions. And then just copy BeOS Launcher to the desktop. So now when the computer boots up, it will let us choose between BeOS and macOS. A very nice dual boot experience, and we can also boot into BeOS from the macOS desktop, which is pretty interesting because it actually replaces the OS in memory and is now just running BeOS, no more macOS. Ah, there's nothing I love more than agreeing to decades-old terms and conditions. Alright, we'll install this to the 2 GB disk image actually, so it's 2 separate disks. We will install the development tools for future shenanigan purposes. And yeah, begin. Uh-oh, we had our first error of the install. It says that some of the documentation HTML files appear to be corrupted. I'm going to click ignore all, and we're just going to hope for the best. Alright, first boot after BeOS install. Got our Genesis MP extension loading, and there we go. The 4-second countdown to choose BeOS. Oh yes, look at this. Beautiful BeOS. Oh, there we are. BeOS version 5.01 running on 4 PowerPC 604s at 130 megahertz. Let's see that in action with Pulse. Oh yeah, look at that. Our 4 CPUs running in perfect concert. Yeah, you know the first thing we have to check out. GLTpot. Oh, look at that stunning 6.6 FPS. Let's add some more. 2 teapots merging into one. Command N. 3 teapots. 4 teapots. 5 teapots. Look at those CPUs go. Oh, that is like a teapot nightmare. Alright, I have no idea how many teapots I just added, but the frame rate has taken a dip. 1.4. This is ridiculous. And beautiful. Okay, so I've been poking around for a bit, and BeOS is running rock solid on here. I was able to connect to the internet with no fuss, and we're browsing using NetPositive, which is the BeOS web browser. So something I really want to try is to get ClassicCube running on here, which is the open source Minecraft Classic clone that's written in C and can compile to run on just about anything. So we'll use FrogFind to get to the GitHub. And this has compiling instructions for lots of operating systems. This thing will even run on an SGI IRIX machine. That's awesome. But yeah, here is what it says we need to compile with CC on BeOS. But it also says in here that it's never been tried on real hardware before. So I guess we'll be the first. So over here in this terminal, I have the source code already extracted. And I suppose it wants us to just go into the source directory, paste in that command. All right. Unknown option, fno math error no. Does BeOS not have that command? Nope. So now it failed because local data greater than 32K in audio.c. I have no idea how to compile stuff on BeOS, and just running it didn't work, so I don't know. I'll have to do more research into that, but I'd love to get it working on here. Alright, one more thing to try. There's a BeOS 501 to 503 updater, so we can get up to the software I thought we were running. Alright, let's see. We are now running 503, and I'm going to give this one more try, even though I did a little more research and don't think it's going to work. Nope, we get this error, local data above 32K, and that seems to be a limitation with the CC compiler, which I found out on the FloodGap website, which has lots of good stuff, and I'll link that down below. Okay, well, last minute update. I'm actually filming this update at 8 p.m. on New Year's Eve, so still technically the last video filmed in 2023. I must have just borked this Blue SCSI that I assembled earlier because I tried a different one, Blue SCSI V2, and it works just fine. So now I'd like to try something that, well, I find hilarious, even though it's kind of a totally normal thing you would have done back in the day. Let's run macOS inside of BeOS. Yeah, we're gonna run Sheepshaver, and I made a disk image of my Color Classic Mystics hard drive running macOS 8 point something. Oh yeah, booting macOS inside of BeOS. Look at those 4 CPUs go. And this is especially interesting because macOS is actually not being emulated here. It's running natively on the PowerPC processors, for which we have plenty. And yeah, this should pretty much run as well as it would on just a PowerPC Mac running natively. And we can pass through the CD-ROM drive, which means I can put in the Daystar Restore CD and install the Daystar software. And I wonder if this, inside of BeOS, can still see all 4 CPUs. Now look at that. The software only sees a single CPU. But that's okay, because yeah, we'll let this use one CPU to the best of its ability, because we've got plenty of games on here, and this is the only way you can play Wolfenstein 3D on PowerPC BeOS. Nice. All right, I dubbed this the BEHEMOTH. I am so excited that we got BeOS running on this thing, dual booting with the original macOS 7.5.3. And yeah, unfortunately BeOS 5 is a bit less compatible with BeOS PowerPC software than BeOS R4 and 4.5, which is what I usually install. For example, I tried to get Doom going on here off camera and it did not work. But I have a lot of wacky plans for this machine in the future. For example, I want to max this out with the ridiculous 1.5 gigs of RAM and try triple booting Linux on here. But that'll do it for today's video, and the last video at least filmed in 2023. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more stuff like this, please subscribe down below, and thank you very much for watching. And a special thanks to Alex Hoffman, Andrew Nicholson, April White, Chris Biggs, Chris Calderon, Chris Nelson, Control-Alt-Reese, Daniel Hubbard, Frodo Jedi, George Rosansky, Greg Hrutke, Harris Brody, James Fryman, James Laurie, Jason Peepaz, Jason Ezel, Lyle Truid, Matthew Crowell, Paul Spencer, Ryan, Scott Cedarbaum, Scott Thompson, Tom Woodfin, and Unknown Soldier 41, who are my highest tiered patrons and all of my Patreon supporters for helping make these videos possible.